The rain hadn't stopped all week when Maya arrived at her grandmother's old manor. The house, nestled on the edge of a forgotten forest, had been abandoned for nearly 2 decades, but the structure stood firm, as if waiting patiently for her return. Maya stepped into the dusty hallway, the scent of aged wood and lavender filling her nose. The air inside was still and heavy, as though it had been holding its breath for years. She placed her suitcase beside the staircase and took a slow look around. The wallpaper peeled like old skin, and the chandelier above creaked softly, swaying without wind. It was on the 2nd floor, in a narrow corridor lined with portraits, that Maya first saw the painting. Unlike the others, which were cracked and faded, this one was in perfect condition. It depicted a girl, maybe 10 or 11, standing in a garden of wilting roses. Her hands were folded in front of her, and her pale face was framed by long dark hair. But what caught Maya's attention were the girl's eyes, gray and glassy, yet somehow watchful. Maya leaned closer. A shiver ran down her spine. Though the hallway wasn't cold, there was something too lifelike about the painting, as if the girl inside was more than just oil on canvas. That night, as the clock in the foyer struck 12, Maya stirred awake in her old bedroom. She sat up slowly, the sound of creaking wood echoing outside her door. At first, she thought it was just the old house settling, but then she heard it again, light footsteps. Curious, she grabbed her phone for light and stepped into the hall. Everything looked the same, quiet, still, except for the painting. The girl's posture was unchanged, but her eyes were closed. Maya blinked, rubbed her own eyes, and looked again. Open, wide open, just like before. She took a step back, heart thudding. Maybe it was a trick of the light, or maybe she was tired. But something about that girl didn't feel right. The next night, Maya returned. This time she waited. She sat on the floor across from the painting, with a mug of tea and a blanket around her shoulders. The corridor was quiet except for the faint ticking of the old grandfather clock downstairs. She waited, and when the clock struck midnight, she saw it again. The girl in the painting blinked. Just once, Maya gasped and scrambled backward, her tea sloshing onto the carpet. The painted girl stared forward again, calm and still. But Maya was sure now she had seen it. A blink, deliberate, conscious. The next morning, she searched the house for any history of the painting. Her grandmother had been an art restorer, and the manor was filled with old works, but none like this one. She found no records, no signatures, not even a date on the frame. Only a name, etched in faint script on the back of the canvas. Elira. The name echoed in Maya's mind as she sat alone in the study, the dusty morning light filtering through lace curtains. She flipped through her grandmother's journals, hoping for a clue. Pages crackled beneath her fingers, entries about restorations, clients, museum contacts, but no mention of Elira, no mention of a blinking girl in a rose garden. She glanced over her shoulder toward the hallway. The painting couldn't be seen from here, but she felt it like a weight at the back of her neck. That night, she placed a small camera on a tripod in the corridor. She didn't trust her eyes anymore. If the girl blinked, she'd have proof. She set it to record and returned to her room, though sleep didn't come easy. In the morning, Maya sat cross-legged with her laptop on the bedroom floor, scrubbing through the footage. For most of the video, nothing happened, just an unmoving painting and the dim flicker of hallway shadows. Then at exactly 12:03 a.m., the girl's eyelids dropped, closed, then opened again. A full blink. Maya paused the video, then replayed it again and again. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't a glitch. It was real. She zoomed in. There was something else. When the girl's eyes reopened, the background had changed. For just a second, the roses behind her looked fresh, blooming, and her expression, once blank, had softened. She looked relieved. Maya shut the laptop. What kind of painting could do that? She decided to return to the corridor. This time, she brought the journal with her. Sitting in front of the painting, she flipped to a blank page and wrote one word. "Who are you?" She left the notebook on the floor and went to bed, her mind racing with questions. In the morning, the page was no longer blank. Beneath her handwriting, in a neat, unfamiliar script, were 4 words. "I remember the fire." Maya dropped the journal. Her breath caught in her throat. She hadn't heard anyone enter the house, hadn't seen any signs of intrusion. The door had remained locked all night. She picked up the book again and stared at the writing. A memory, a fire. That day, Maya explored the attic. She wasn't sure what she was looking for. Anything that might connect Elira to this house, to her grandmother, to the painting itself. After an hour of searching through moth-eaten linens and rusted trunks, she found a box tucked behind a broken vanity. Inside were letters, old yellowed, some barely legible. Most were addressed to her grandmother. One, however, was different. No envelope, no stamp, just a folded piece of paper singed around the edges. It read, "She is trapped in the canvas. The fire did not kill her, but it burned the garden into her memory. Do not stare too long. She remembers faces." That night, Maya sat once more in front of the painting, the singed letter trembling in her hands. The air around her felt denser, as if the house itself were holding its breath. She glanced at Elira. The girl's painted eyes seemed softer now, pleading. Maya opened the notebook again. "How can I help you?" She placed the journal down. Midnight came. The clock struck once, twice, 12 times. This time, the blink came slowly, deliberately. Elira's eyes closed, then opened with a shimmer of something almost like gratitude. The journal flipped on its own. Pages fluttered as if caught in wind. New words appeared. "Free the garden. Burn the roots." Maya stood, heart pounding. It didn't make sense until she remembered the overgrown greenhouse at the edge of the property. Her grandmother used to lock it with heavy chains, warning Maya never to go near it. She hadn't thought of it in years. Grabbing a flashlight and the keys from the hallway drawer, Maya made her way through the wet grass and found the greenhouse, smothered in vines. The air around it was colder than the rest of the night. The chains clattered to the ground. Inside it was a tomb. Dead roses hung like forgotten ghosts. In the center, an easel, empty. She stepped closer. On the dirt floor lay dozens of small paintings, blackened and broken. Some were portraits, some were landscapes, and in the center, a torn corner of canvas. Elira's eyes, half-burned, staring upward. Maya didn't fully understand what she was doing, only that it felt right. She gathered the pieces and poured kerosene from an old tin in the shed. With shaking hands, she struck a match. The fire roared to life. She didn't look away. The flames reached high, curling around the frames, devouring the painted petals and faces. The heat stung her skin, but she stood her ground. When it was over, the greenhouse was silent. Maya turned and walked back to the house, heart heavy but strangely light at the same time. Inside the hallway, the painting still hung, only now it was empty. The girl was gone. No garden, no roses, just an old faded canvas. Maya reached for the journal one last time. A final message waited there, in the same neat script. "Thank you. I remember your face." And then the ink began to fade, as though the memory itself was finally allowed to rest.